Hi, my name is Crystal Jankowski, and I'm going to be talking to you about my 10th grade assessment plan and rationale. This assessment plan will be given in a high school English classroom in Ashland, Massachusetts. Ashland is a relatively small town for Massachusetts, and the high school serves 770 students. There are two sophomore English inclusion classes, and they're both co-taught with special education teachers. These classrooms have 17 students and 22 students respectively. There is a healthy mix of students with IEPs, 504s, and students who are not on plans but that need a little extra support. The intended outcome of this assessment plan is to allow teachers to understand the students' progress in reading success so that they may implement appropriate supports and adjust lesson plans accordingly in order to help students achieve reading success. More specifically, the Common Core state standards and the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks expect students in 10th grade to be able to move beyond simple plot comprehension to comprehending more difficult elements such as author's purpose, theme, symbolism, etc. These things are often more abstract and often give students with disabilities more difficulty. So this plan aims to assess students' progress in reaching that higher level of heightened comprehension. The first assessment I'll be using is the Reading A to Z benchmark passages. So the Reading A to Z benchmark passages is a formal assessment that requires students to read a passage out loud, retell important details, and answer 5 comprehension questions. The data collected includes both fluency rates and comprehension rates, and I thought this was one of the benefits of this assessment because a lot of assessments focus just on fluency, but I think comprehension is important too. So despite fluency not being a focus at the high school level, paying attention to fluency can alert teachers to specific struggles that students are having in the reading process. Those kind of red flags would include students relying on context to sound out words and self-correcting. And comparing fluency results with comprehension results could inform teachers what extra support students need, whether it be direct instruction from me or support from the reading specialist at my school. This assessment can also be helpful in matching students with SSR or sustained silent reading books that are appropriate for their level. So we do SSR for 30 minutes a week, typically on Fridays. And students are able to pick any book that they would like to. It's supposed to be a more pleasurable reading experience. But this assessment gives lexile levels with each passage, so that could be helpful in helping students find a book that's both engaging and appropriate for their reading level. The second assessment I'll be using is exit tickets. Exit tickets are any kind of informal, formative assessments that are given at the end of periods before students leave that allow teachers to assess students' comprehension on a daily basis in very quick ways. I'll specifically be using the character tweet exit ticket, where students are required to tweet from a certain character's perspective. This type of assessment gives teachers data on whether or not students understand a specific character's purpose or role in the story being read. In Edutopia's Exit Tickets Checking for Understanding, the writers claim that effective exit tickets must be designed to align with the daily objectives for each lesson. Now, one drawback to this assessment is that it relies heavily on the assumption that students completed their reading homework and classwork. This makes it a little more difficult for teachers to discern whether or not students misunderstood the text or did not read the text. However, this assessment then almost corrects itself, so the next day when teachers give feedback on the exit ticket, all of the students will then understand that specific component. This is an example of the kind of exit ticket that I use. So students will either pick a character or be assigned a character and have to tweet from that character's perspective. This requires them to have a working knowledge of the plot of the story, the character's role in the story, and make an inference to understand how the character would respond to this, based on real life and the character's actions in the story thus far. So that goes beyond simple plot regurgitation and asks students to think critically. Unit tests kind of follow the exit tickets. So if exit tickets are aligned to the daily objectives, those are then leading up to the unit test. So these two assessments are connected. Unit tests are common summative assessments at Ashland High School, and they allow English teachers to assess students' understanding of a given book. They include character ID, multiple choice plot questions, and short answer. And the short answer are the really important part of this test because it asks students to respond to quotes or passages and kind of dig deeper instead of just telling me what the plot of the story was. So the purpose of this assessment is both to assess comprehension and students' ability to understand more complex ideas, such as theme, characterization, and symbolism. And this happens at the end of each unit. Then in March, students will take MCAS. Now, MCAS is a state-mandated exam that students must take during their sophomore year in March. It is actually a requirement for graduation, so students must pass this exam to graduate. They have to read passages, answer comprehension questions, and write analytical responses to prompts, and that takes place over 3 days. So the purpose of this is to assess whether or not students have reached adequate reading and writing benchmarks to graduate. Teachers actually get the data the following fall, which includes each student's individual answers to every question. The general trends from this data can then be used to inform teaching for the next class of students. High-stakes testing is obviously a very controversial topic. So Au and Gord argue that high-stakes tests are asinine and that they encourage teachers to teach students a very strict curriculum and set a value so that they're prepared for the test. This is something especially felt by English teachers because we are required to teach a very structured 5-paragraph essay. This is a type of essay that is rarely used after the exam and later in life because it follows such a strict structure. The nature of the essay itself also feels contrived because students must think of a book they have read that matches a given topic, such as characters overcoming adversity, and make sure they remember enough facts about the book so that they can write a 5-paragraph essay from memory. Another drawback of this exam is the timeliness of the feedback. It's actually very excellent data, but teachers don't get it until the following fall, so they don't have those students in front of them any longer. And the students who took the exam are now juniors and they're moving on to be challenged by more difficult content. However, there are aspects of the test that align well with the goals of reading assessment. The open response questions effectively assess students' ability to read, comprehend, and respond to a text, and this type of question is more realistic than the reading A to Z benchmark passages because it allows students to use the text to respond to the questions. This feels more authentic because it does not require them to regurgitate facts they read 3 minutes earlier. Often later in life, and in college, they'll be able to and are encouraged to refer back to the text when answering questions. There is also research that says specifically MCAS aligns well with student success in college. So there is evidence that shows that on some level, this test is an accurate measure of college readiness. This is the timeline. So reading A to Z passages will happen at the beginning of the year as a pre-test to kind of help put supports in place for students, and again at midterms to kind of adjust those supports. Exit tickets happen frequently, multiple times per week, and those lead up to the unit tests, which happen once per unit, roughly every 6 weeks. MCAS then happens once, and that is in March. And here are my references. Thank you.